obviously the discourse online now is he doesn't deserve to be in the championship. He doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs now because he won a race. He was 33rd in points, wins, and now is a playoff driver.
Following is a production of
The Garage Area.
All right, welcome into the garage area after the Mexico City race. Interesting weekend in Mexico City. The first time that, well, I guess I don't know for sure that it's the first time, but I heard somebody speculate that it was the first time that no American-born driver won the NASCAR Cup race or the NASCAR races over the weekend. Being that Daniel Suarez won the Xfinity Series race and Shane Van Gisbergen won the Cup Series race. Entertaining weekend. I got to watch the majority of both races, not all of either one, and it was pretty good battle there between Ty Gibbs and SVG in the Cup race for quite a while before Ty got behind on that pit strategy, and pretty much seemed like it was Suarez's race to lose in the Xfinity side, and just made his way all the way from last. First time a driver had ever done that, starting last on a road course and winning the race in the Xfinity Series. So Suarez got the win in front of his hometown fans. SVG, just the guy that everybody thought was going to win, ended up pulling it off and getting the victory in Mexico City. Let's talk about Shane to start with. First of all, how did you not pick him to win?
Well, you picked him before me, so what choice did I have?
Did you think that he was going to win?
Yeah.
If I didn't pick him, you would have picked him?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you were a betting man, would you have put money on Shane?
Probably.
Yeah. I think that would have been the move, obviously. But I would have done the same. Yeah, it just felt way too much like this was a SVG type race. It feels like Chicago again is going to be an SVG race. You can talk me into maybe somebody else at Sonoma or Watkins Glen or someplace like that. But yeah, the Chicago street race and Mexico City, I mean, it was just, I would have bet my entire savings, all $12, that it was going to be SVG to end up winning that race. And I would bet him again in the Chicago street course as well. Probably would have won that race last year had he not had, I'm not sure what failed on that car, if it was a brake failure or what.
It was a Ryan Priester bumper.
Oh, yeah.
He got in turn 6, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he was
It was under caution, right?
No, it was after a restart and the rain got heavy or something. It was in the wet.
I remember being in the wet.
I don't remember if it was Ryan Priest or not. But that's who popped in my head. I think it was a Stuart Haas car at least. So
yeah, they're good for a caution every now and then. Yeah, so either way, Shane would have been the guy that would have, I mean, you could have picked for sure last year at the street course. And he's just a really good road course racer. I don't know how you take anything away from him. Yeah, he struggled on ovals so far this year. I don't know what his average finish is, but he's struggled to perform week in and week out, but definitely somebody that went right to the top of the list when we went to Mexico as far as drivers that we considered to be potential winners.
I have seen improvement from him in the last couple of weeks on ovals, including the All-Star race in Nashville. I think even he finished top 20 and ran within the top 20 at Nashville. So I think there is improvement coming with either him or the team itself.
I feel like the team itself has come a little ways recently. And that's not to take anything away from Shane's development. I think that he probably is getting better. But yeah, I think that it largely is the fact that Trackhouse as a whole has improved. That's helped him get to that point. But were you surprised? I want to come back to Shane, but to kind of divert from that for a second, were you surprised at how fast Shane was in a Trackhouse car that Suarez wasn't up there closer to the top?
A little bit, yes. I expected a little bit more out of Suarez. He restarted out front in that one. I don't remember if it was after a stage break, and I remember the guys in the announcer's box are trying to tell Ty Gibbs to let him lead through the stadium section there, but Ty Gibbs took the lead away from him in front of the fans. But once he was up front there, I thought, all right, maybe he'll stick up there, and he just kept slowly falling back through the field. So it did surprise me he didn't quite have the speed that others had there.
He finished 19th. Did he get in an accident along the way or not?
I can't think of nothing that
Yeah,
he was
that's
involved in.
there were so many cars that got involved in stuff throughout the day that it's hard to keep track of them all.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure that Daniel did or not, but it didn't. I don't recall him being involved in anything.
a lot of things could happen, especially on them stage restart and that one final caution they had. Those first few corners there, that just 3 and 4 wide through those tight 90-degree bends there. You just if you were in the right lane, you gained 10 positions, and if you were in the wrong lane, you lost them all. So
Yeah,
who knows what happened through there?
and I don't know if he was on, was one of those guys that got caught on the bad strategy
Right.
during that caution and all that too. I wasn't following him that close to pay attention. I mean, Joey Logano was somebody that was not going to perform to win the race, so I was kind of checked out on him altogether. Wasn't really even paying attention. Um, and because I picked Shane and he was leading and battling with Ty Gibbs there for a good long while, he was just the only car I was paying attention to. So it was really Shane's race that I was following throughout the day, and obviously he ends up bringing home the win. Your driver Ross Chastain ends up coming home 16th, and kind of a bummer day for him. Um, you made a good point in the preview video there, saying that you think that Ross is an underrated road course racer, and I would probably agree with that. I didn't give it a lot of thought until you brought it up, but I do agree that was a good point you made. That he got his first career victory on a road course. He is somebody that's fairly strong on the road courses in general, and Trackhouse is obviously um, bringing the big guns, this week. I don't know if they just put all their resources into Shane or what happened to Ross. I mean, I know he got spun and he had some other issues throughout the day, but
Yeah, I mean, he ran up front there. I should say the first lap, him and he was running right with Van Gisbergen, but he ran up front, got finished second or third in the first stage. Obviously, he stayed out when others pitted and whatnot, but um, I think he had a fast enough car. If he got out front, he stayed up front. But in the end, like when Ty Gibbs got stuck back in traffic, I think the same thing happened to Ross Chastain, stuck back in traffic and couldn't climb his way up forward.
yeah, when I watch the video, because that's actually how I find out how you make your pick, is I have to watch the video because you won't just tell me. But I was like, when I saw you're like, yeah, I'm taking Ross Chastain, I'm like, what an idiot. And then you gave your reasoning, and I'm like, that's actually not that logic as to why you should take Ross. And it looked like it was going to pan out there for a little while, and just didn't end up working out that way. Sometimes it happens in road course racing. Before we give our rating of the race, do you think? Obviously, the discourse online now is he doesn't deserve to be in the championship. He doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs now because he won a race. He was 33rd in points, wins, and now is a playoff driver. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously earned this race. Um, a lot of times you'll say it's a luck winner or something at one of these things or one off, but I think everyone expects him to win these races. And I mean, you could argue that like AJ Allmendinger and Suarez or a couple others that, but still, I think that far back in the points, I don't think he should be fighting for a championship. Not to take anything away from that race or that he won. I feel like it should be accumulation of all aspects of racing or all I can't think of it, but accumulation of skill over
Yeah.
all variety of track. You got to be good on the oval, short tracks, road courses, and I just obviously I don't think he'll be in a Final Four anyways. I don't remember what the first round of the playoffs was, but whether there's a road course or short tracks, because I think he might be able to hang at a short track here a little bit if he gets up front and stuff. But
The first round's Darlington, Gateway, Bristol.
yeah, I feel like he's going to struggle to make it through the first round. But at that, same argument. There's people that are near that cut line too that aren't going to win a race that I don't think should be there either. So I feel like maybe that point that maybe he is deserving more than people that are ahead of him in points because he can at least use this skill in one asset of racing. But I just know that he could possibly go out and win a championship. I just don't think it's quite right. I'm kind of torn on all of this, but
Yeah, I don't. I'm looking on Racing Reference and it doesn't show SVG in the playoffs, in the playoff standings. It says playoff standings after this race, and I don't see. SVG in the top 16. Um, I'm not sure why that is, but
Yeah, I think on Racing Reference it just looks like a copy and paste from the regular point standings. So
yeah, that could very well be. But that being said, if that is the case, uh, let's just say that they freeze the field the way it is. Um, AJ Allmendinger's in 16th spot. Do you think AJ can win a championship?
no.
What about Austin Cindric in 15th? Do you think he can win a championship?
I think he could make it a couple of
Do you
rounds,
think he can win a
but
championship?
not win the championship. No,
Ryan Priest, think he can win a championship?
no,
Chris Buescher.
no.
I know Alex
Yeah,
Bowman can't. Chase Briscoe.
no,
Bubba Wallace.
no.
Joey Logano.
He could, yes.
Ross
We
Chastain.
learned that last year. Chastain could, I think.
Yep. Ryan Blaney.
Yeah,
Tyler Reddick.
yeah,
Denny Hamlin.
yeah.
Chase Elliott.
No.
Of course he can. Christopher Bell,
Yeah,
Kyle Larson, William Byron. All those guys can win championships. So basically, from ninth on up in the points, we think that all of those guys can win championships, can win a championship. We think they could compete for one this year. Bubba Wallace is tied with Joey Logano in ninth with points, just straight points. Do you think Bubba can win a championship? No. So my point being that half of the playoff field we don't even think can win the championship
yeah,
in the first place. I guess what I'm getting at is for sure those bottom four guys, they shouldn't be there in the first place, no matter who it is.
yeah,
And while I don't like this system and I think that the playoff field should be smaller, I'm not upset that SVG's in it because he's not going to go anywhere. This isn't like, Joey Logano getting in with Alex Bowman being disqualified last year. It's like, oh, Joey could make a run at this championship now. I know that was in, further into the rounds of the playoffs, not to get into the playoffs. But remember that year that Truex and Blaney had scored a lot of points, but they hadn't won a race yet, and I think Blaney made it and Truex didn't on points, and neither one had won a race.
yeah,
And uh, Blaney still went on a bit of a run there. To in a situation like that, it's like, okay, you let Blaney in, now he could get you somewhere, and Truex could have as well. I feel confident in that. Um, but in situations like this, it's like, or rather situations like that, yeah, maybe some of these guys are taking up spots that are undeserving of them at that point. Like Truex and Blaney should have been in the playoffs in that situation. I get that argument there, but you got to win a race, man, and that's what SVG did. If your payout at the end of the year is based on where you finish in the championship standings, that was huge for the Wood brothers last year. That's going to be huge for Trackhouse this year, um, and I think it rewards the winning to another degree. You know what I mean? Like obviously they get a paycheck for winning this race, but now it's like you're going to finish no worse than 16th in the standings this year and get an even bigger check at the end of the year. So I'm okay with all of that in the way that all works out for just the simple fact of it's a reward for them winning the race, even though
yeah,
that they're not going to actually compete for the
yeah. It's
championship.
almost like an extra prize money in the
Yeah,
end.
kind of that
Yeah,
same idea.
yeah. That was kind of where I was trying to go with it, like saying that, yeah, you got to win and whatnot. He's not going to fight for a championship.
I don't feel like Shane stole one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or that he's gonna steal one. I don't feel that he stole a race win, and I don't feel like he's gonna steal anything extra special in the playoffs either. Just based on the way that he's performed lately. Let me ask you this: is Shane gonna win another race this year?
possibly. I mean, at another road course, that I could see him winning
Do you think he
another.
can win at Pocono?
Really, no.
Do you think he can win at Atlanta,
Atlanta with possibly with the drafting style, yes.
Chicago Street Course,
Yeah,
Sonoma,
possibly, yes.
Dover,
No,
Indy,
no,
Iowa,
no.
Watkins Glen,
Yeah,
Richmond,
no.
Daytona?
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I
there's
mean the
one.
drafting tracks, yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 races out of the looks like 10 left on the schedule, and we think that Shane could win. Has a
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
He's in the conversation. And at some of those drafting tracks, the whole field's wide open. I get
Yeah.
that. Um, that would be wild if he has 3 wins this year.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine if he wins the Chicago Street Race, Sonoma, and Watkins Glen? That'd put him four race wins on the year.
When you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, he should be there
Right,
too.
exactly.
It's kind of weird to think about.
So if you I don't have it all pulled up either, but Brad Keselowski, if he won a race, do you think he deserves to be in the playoffs?
Not really, no.
See, I thought you were going to
Yeah,
say yes because it's Brad Keselowski and he's like a
no.
perennial
I
playoff
I
guy.
know, but they
But he's
use
so far
struggle.
down in the points.
Yeah,
Exactly. And to me, it's no different than that. And I guess that's the thing. Like if Brad won at Pocono this weekend, it was like, oh, Brad's in the playoffs. That's normal.
yeah.
And you wouldn't think twice about it. It's like, well, Brad's actually 36th in points or wherever he's at. I don't know for sure. But he's way far down there because he's had such a bad year as far as finishes go.
As a playoff standings, he's 32nd.
Okay.
That doesn't mean the same as points, but
Right.
yeah. I mean, right now the cut line, Chris Buescher's in by 19, Ryan Preece is out by 19. So
Yeah. Let's is there anything else you want to talk about with SVG
I don't have anything else.
or the
No,
playoffs?
no.
Okay. Just kind of working our way through the race before we rate it. Uh, First of all, just to get this out of the way, Denny Hamlin didn't go to Mexico because a child is born, and he ends up staying home. There was a TikTok video that I saw where he was like dancing and celebrating, and the caption said, "When you don't have to go to a foreign country this weekend." And I heard that the TikTok got deleted, and I don't. It wasn't obviously Denny that posted it,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it was like, hey, that's a bad idea. Don't post that TikTok. But I'm sure he wasn't sad about it because Denny's not a road course guy. It's not like you went to. It's not like they moved Richmond to Mexico and Denny's like, oh man, I'm missing racing at Richmond or something like that. A track that he felt like he had a shot to really win at. Um, and ended up getting to stay home with his family. Don't blame him for wanting to do that. I'm sure he wasn't too upset about it. Interested to hear his podcast this week and see what he has to say. Has it come out yet? Did you listen
No.
to any of it?
I think they talked about having Ryan Truex on, and I think they didn't leave Mexico till today.
Oh,
So
okay,
I think they're all the podcasts are going to be a day late this week.
that makes sense. Yeah, there's a little extra logistics going there. So Denny doesn't go to Mexico, like you just said. Ryan Truex ended up being his sub, and the 11 car was around a lot yesterday. Didn't see a lot of the racetrack go in the right direction. It seemed like. I'm not sure where he finished. I'm trying to see.
23rd.
Yes. Yep, 23rd. So it was kind of a rough day for the 11 car for Ryan. Um,
I mean, considering what he went through, 23rd is
you're right.
pretty decent.
Yeah, that's not terrible. But not where you expect the 11 car to finish at all
Yeah.
any given week. So yeah, kind of a rough throw him in there kind of spot for Ryan, but he ended up making the best of it in that situation. The race started with rain right on lap one, and then on lap seven you had Kyle Busch pile into a bunch of different drivers, take out some good cars. AJ Allmendinger got damage in that. Kyle was done for the day. Um, it seems like it took out somebody else pretty significant.
Larson.
Yeah, took out Larson. Um,
Um,
and he ended up coming back on the racetrack with like 40 some laps down. And did he end up making the fastest lap?
yeah.
Because they came in and took tires.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they fixed the car up, and that was their sole purpose, was just to get the fastest lap and get that point.
So that's a never give up attitude by
Yeah.
those guys.
And it took out Haley too.
Oh yeah, well
That was the first car
he
that.
was irrelevant.
Yeah.
Dale Jr. I think brought that up last week maybe. What a big name that Justin Haley was as a free agent with what he was doing in the Rick Ware stuff, and he goes to Spire, who's actually had a rising year, and Justin Haley's irrelevant.
Yeah, he's the third car.
Yeah, just kind of a odd situation that they had over there. And he was the guy that ended up with the best crew chief to start the year, and then he doesn't even have that crew chief anymore. So, kind of a weird situation for those guys. As the race played out, like we said, the 11 was around a lot. The 77 was involved in a lot of cautions, including one that involved Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Not a good deal for those two guys with trying to settle that beef. And sounds like that Carson did truly make a mistake, but it cost Ricky again. And
Yeah.
Ricky went over and had a little talking to with him after the race. And Carson had a tweet about the whole situation in Mexico. Apparently, he made some comments on a Twitch stream as well.
Yeah.
What did the tweet? Do you have the tweet pulled up?
Yeah.
What does it say?
You want me to read the whole thing?
Read the whole thing.
Okay. Um, Maybe a kid that had never been out of the country until Thursday should never give an opinion about what any place is like other than uh, Portage, Michigan, which I assume is where he's
Yeah,
from.
he is.
When I answered that question on a stream, I was skeptical about the trip so far and believed everything I read or heard about Mexico City from people who are more than likely also never been here. Now that I've actually left my hotel a couple of times and raced here in front of some of the most passionate fans I have ever seen, my opinion has changed. I am embarrassed by my comments by the race I ran, and I may have to move here to hide out from Ricky anyway.
That-
Count this as another lesson for me in a season I've learned so much. Don't believe everything you hear without seeing it yourself. If anyone should give anyone or any place the benefit of the doubt, it's me. I'm sorry, Mexico City. Consider me an ally going forward, an example of getting off Twitch and seeing things with my own eyes.
yeah.
And a couple of times in his Twitch streams, he called it a crap hole, pretty
Oh,
much, in lesser words.
yeah.
So, I heard other people say the same sentiments about it. So I don't know. I've heard differing opinions about the city. So I don't know what to believe, this or that. But
Yeah, it's hard to tell for sure. None of that applies to us because that's how we consume the races on TV
yeah,
and consume the follow-up information through podcasts. And uh, obviously, this is kind of our way of contributing to that world a little bit. Um, yeah, it doesn't really bother me as long as all the drivers were safe. I don't care if the conditions weren't perfect and all that. But uh, SVG said after the race that he was a little unwell and that he felt like complete rubbish and he had it leaking out both holes.
he did say.
That was an interesting post race interview that he gave there. Anyways, as the race progressed and as Carson and Ricky had their little tickle fight there, and I'm sure that that's what Ricky's going to do when they get back to the states. Um, I hope he is going to bring a step stool if he's going to fight Carson. But anyways, one of the hosts of our cautions ends up killing Ty Gibbs' strategy, who was the only guy that had anything for SVG all day. I didn't want to see Ty Gibbs win at all. I didn't want to see him. I wish there was somebody else that was competing with SVG. Um, but it was disappointing to see Ty get handcuffed that bad and have to start further back in the field and try to make his way back to the front. And I think he came back to 11th, which isn't bad considering his circumstances. He had a fast car. He said that he had an opportunity to compete with SVG for the win, and just bad bad timed caution. And not a, that was the one where Hocevar was stopped and he was just in a bad part of the racetrack and they left him there for a long time and finally threw the yellow, which 100% deserved. Just a shame that it killed Ty's day like that, and we could have seen probably a tighter battle for the win instead of a 16-second victory. And which, by the way, I'm not upset about the fact that Shane won by 16 seconds. Like it just the only other car that could compete with him was the 54, and the 54 got caught on bad pit strategy. There's nothing you can do about it. I don't think that makes this a bad race because of any of that. Was there anything else from the race itself that stood out to you?
um, nothing particular that I can think of.
Are you ready to give it your rating?
Yeah.
Tell me what your number is and why.
Um, I think I think I'll go 6.5. I thought it was a decent race. Like you were talking about not wanting Ty Gibbs to win. I mean, you picked SVG, so I was hoping somebody would get
Right.
him. So at that point, I was rooting for Gibbs. I he I think the when all the cars were equal at that point, somebody that could run with SVG, I think it kept them all closer together. And once SVG was out on an island on his own, he could just run his pace. And once he's alone, clean air, it's game over pretty much. And um, towards the end of the run and the race, I think is when it really started getting good. Tires were wearing out. The guys who could run or protected their stuff got quicker and passes were happening. I felt like it was too much calamity at the start. I think Chase Elliott talked about it in his post race interview that those restarts are not fun going through those first corners because you want to be aggressive, but you don't want to be the guy that punts somebody. But if you're not aggressive, you're the one that gets punted.
Yeah.
I hate that aspect of how it worked out. I don't know how you change that
Right.
other than maybe different restart zone or something to that effect and whatnot. But
Better race cars.
yeah, that too. But you know, just because it was so hard to pass and it took so long for cars to get wore out to make the racing a little more fun and whatnot, that's why I'll give it a 6.5.
You and I talked about this a little bit. Um, Sunday night after Michigan, we jumped on here and recorded and gave our first impressions, and I felt like we didn't really have a whole lot to offer after watching that one. I actually enjoy consuming the Teardowns podcast just to kind of get a bigger picture of the weekend and their perspective from talking to fans, from things they saw at the racetrack and things along that line, which I'm grateful for those guys, even though I don't agree with them all the time. Um, there's they had a bigger positive feedback to Michigan than what we had watching the race. And I saw it on Twitter too. It was as a whole, so it wasn't like these guys were just making it up out of their own opinions. It seemed to be the general consensus by people that watch the race. And I think that you and I sometimes don't grade races on a curve, knowing that like, hey, this is the Gen 7 car. You're gonna have underbody downforce. You're gonna have dirty air, and it's not the most ideal racing. If you were going to grade it on purity of racing, none of these races get higher than a 3. And that's just the unfortunate reality of it. So I think that we have to kind of grade on a curve a little bit to the fact of this is what you have. You have the Gen 7 car, you have dirty air, you have tires that don't wear out as much as you would like them to. They've been better. I'm not going to get on Goodyear too hard. So taking all of that into consideration and the fact that we haven't really seen a good road course race in the Gen 7 car, in my opinion, um, I'd say that I'd give it a 7. I just thought it was a good weekend. Overall, I thought it was exciting. I think it's cool that Suarez won. I think it's cool that SVG won. It felt like the true road course talent came out, and it wasn't just whoever started up front got to stay there. And yeah, it was tough to pass, you could say, but there's just a lot of beating and banging and rooting and gouging that I don't hate. It's just I wish that they were a little more under control sometimes with going through those corners. Don't mind seeing guys get moved. And the 88 was the class of the field and won the race. So I got no issues with any of that, and that's why I'm going to give it a 7. We already talked about our actual picks. Mine being Shane, who won the race. Yours being Ross, who finished 16th. I gained some points on you again this week. I'm back to just 37 behind. This is an incredible comeback. First between the two of us to pick back-to-back winning drivers. I've won two races in a row now, on a hot streak here, and nailed the matchups that you gave me last week after
Yeah.
Michigan. So you said, who do I have between uh, Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell, Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, and SVG and AJ Allmendinger? And I got them all right, and largely due to the fact that Hamlin didn't show up. Helped me in the Joey Logano Denny Hamlin one, and I said that, oh, I don't even think that Chase Elliott's going to be a factor. And one of the things that irritated me with the Prime commercials was they're like, and we're going to Mexico City, and Chase would be like, somebody say road course, and just the most boring human on the planet. And it's like, are you kidding me? You're the face of this for road courses. Um, and I understand that Prime is sponsoring him and all that, and that's why he's getting some of the publicity. But I just was thinking to myself, Chase Elliott at road courses is old news. But you brought it out because you're the guy that's following him. At Coda, he came back and had a fast car and ended up picking his way through the field. And here this weekend, he finished third. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And Bell finished second. So I still ended up with that matchup being right with Bell getting the second place finish. But I mean, Chase was fast. You couldn't take any of that away from him.
Chase was at 1.6 seconds behind Bell and finished 2 seconds behind him on that final run from starting. Well, he restarted 11th and then got up to the top 10 kind of on that initial restart, and he just kept picking them off one by one until he was losing to SVG, but he was catching everyone
Right.
else.
I saw a picture with those guys on the podium of Christopher Bell in a sombrero, and somebody commented on it and said Taco Bell.
I've heard his nickel name, or I heard that as a nickname for him before, but I didn't even think about it with him wearing the sombrero. That was
Yeah, that was funny. Um, So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the Cup race weekend. You got anything else that you
Yeah.
wanted to talk about there?
Not overall about the race itself, but I want to talk about like the stadium section, how they use that. I think that stadium was pretty cool and
Oh,
how
I
they
agree.
drive through it. So the drivers, both Suarez and SVG, won the race, or when they won the race, they came around, did their burnouts in there, which was cool. But that's where they stopped and did their celebrations, and it wasn't at the start finish line, and that just felt weird to me. And I'm like, all those fans out there watch the race to watch, or that are in the stands at the start finish line, watch the cars go to race. And I feel like they expect kind of a burnout celebration there too. And I'm just like, if they're going to have that stadium section, obviously it'd be hard to put a start finish line in those corners, but I would think you'd want to come out with some layout or something that to make the more exciting finish right there.
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I would think too. I I agree that that's the coolest part of the racetrack is where
Yeah.
they come through that stadium like that. If I was going to Watkins Glen and I could sit anywhere that I wanted, I'd want to be sitting in turn one looking back at the start finish line because I'd want to see them come at me
Yeah.
through there. I would care less about sitting at the start finish line than I would be in a place where I could see it and see
Okay,
them
yeah.
come down to me.
I say Watkins Glen, you can still see the start finish line to finish the race. Plus, they come at you, and you can probably see them up through the S's.
Right.
So, but in the stadium, you can't see the start finish line from there. I don't believe.
No,
And
I
yeah,
don't, I agree.
that's
But I
kind of
guess
where
my
I'm.
point being that at a lot of racetracks, yeah, I'd want to sit at the start finish line, but a road course that wouldn't necessarily be
Yeah,
my big ticket seats. And I don't know if that's the case at Mexico City's track or
yeah,
not. So I 100% get your point, and I do agree that they deserve a burnout at the start finish line. But I don't
yeah,
think that it's as critical as it would be at a oval
yeah.
racetrack.
It wasn't nothing that's a big deal, and everything.
Right.
But I thought that was kind of like, man, the guys who kind of. I felt like the guys at the start finish line may have missed out on something, but it's just my opinion.
Did you see the video with Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez?
Yeah.
That was funny. For those that didn't see it, Bubba Wallace walked into the bathroom, I guess, with in the mirror filming himself, and said, "This is me after one day in Mexico City." And then he came back in and said he had like a Mexican style scarf on, and said, "Hola, this is me after 2 days in Mexico." And then the third day, it was just Daniel Suarez that walked in the room, and he started speaking Spanish, obviously very fluently.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, that's great. Just a very clever video, I thought. Good way to put a little marketing out there. Liked it. It was whoever came up with that idea, genius. Give him 10 stars on that one. We'll give him a 10 out of 10, better rating than the race itself.
Yeah.
Um, the only other thing that I wanted to touch on, well, I guess we should talk about the guys that scored points. Ryan Preece won the first stage, SVG won the second stage and the race, and Kyle Larson, as we talked about, gets the Xfinity fastest lap while being several points or several laps down. He came in to take tires just to do that. We talked about the Xfinity race. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this because Dale Jr. brought this up on his podcast this week as well about the new overtime rule, or the new overtime that he's proposing.
Okay.
Did you hear that on this podcast?
I I think they talked about it something for the Xfinity series. I don't remember if that's what it was
Well, I think
about
that's
or
where the idea kind of sparked. But
yeah.
they were saying that if the race is not in doubt,
Yes, okay, now that yeah, I do.
that
Yeah.
there shouldn't be any overtime restart. So
Yeah.
like this weekend, if there was a caution with 3 to go, and SVG's out there by 16 seconds, the race should just be over. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, if we want to be nostalgic and go back to the old days, that's the way it would be. I feel like that's more fair, but in the end, you also don't. It's not guaranteed that he would have won the race. To say that something couldn't have broke or flat tire or he messed up too. Um, I really don't know what to think. In my mind, that's more fair to SVG that he deserved to win and stuff too. But I could go either way with this.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, well, what do you call in doubt? Because if it was 3 laps to go at a track like Mexico City, and he's got a set, let's just say a 10-second lead, but you've got he's trying to, let's say he's trying to stretch his fuel to get to the end, and he's on
Yeah,
old tires, and now the second place driver, say Christopher Bell, is trying to catch him with a faster car and newer tires. Well, yeah, with 3 laps to go, he's got a 10-second lead, but the second place car could have caught him,
Yeah.
by the end of the race. So that's where you've got to decide if you were going to do that, there'd have to be a clear line in the sand of this is what a no doubter is, and I just don't think that we're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So while I hate it that in some of these cases, like at super speedways and drafting track, they're all drafting tracks, but some of these cases where it's like, oh, this guy had a nose out ahead at the moment of caution, it's like, no, I'd like to see us re-rack him and go again.
Yeah.
And in other cases, it's, this driver has got this race in hand. He's just got to make 4 or 5 more laps. Oh, we got a caution. We're going to have a restart. And it's just like, what are we doing? There was no reason for that. So I understand wanting to have a new approach to the overtime rule, but I'm not sure that's the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. I just see too many issues with that solution.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing you could say is instead of doing it in a white flag, make it with 2 laps to go or something like that. I don't know what to.
Yeah.
It was based on the Xfinity Series race. What, or was it the Martinsville? No, I think what was the more recent one they were at? Because they didn't go to Michigan. Maybe it was the Truck Series in Michigan. Did they have?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they had a
Maybe it was
disaster.
more the Truck Series, but they just kept racking them up and racking them up, and
And Stewie got the win.
yeah. um, I don't know. To me, I think right now you can't make it a call based on what you would deem competitive or not competitive or whatever. It's bringing too much human element into it. I think you got to stick by one rule for all races and leave it at that.
I'm with you. Well, next week, all 3 series go to Pocono, and I don't know what you're anticipating there. Pocono is our home state racetrack. Never been, never want to go. Pocono is one of my least favorite racetracks. There's nothing exciting that ever happens there, unless you're Elliott Sadler, I guess. But not a racetrack that I'm interested in seeing the race at. But I tell you what, Prime has put on some great coverage. They might find a way to dress this thing up because Prime has done a great job with the races that they have. I'm sad that this is their last one. I'm going to try to make it 3 in a row, and I'm very confident, even sitting here now, that I'm going to pick Denny Hamlin to end up winning that race. Any just off-the-cuff preview things that you have for Pocono? Anything that you're looking forward to or expect to see?
Probably fuel mileage, probably like a Michigan-style type race or whatever. Just get to your fuel window and run it out the rest of the way is what I see. So
you're not looking for anything too exciting?
No.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what those guys on Prime can do to doctor that broadcast up and see if they can make us believe in Pocono. Until then, I guess we'll see you guys after Pocono.